Hi, everyone. Welcome to our artist talk here. I'm here with artist Matthew O'Reilly, who is a ceramicist. We're very lucky to have you here today, Matthew. My name is Shannon. I'm the program associate here at artsPlace. My pronouns are she, her. And I'd like to start the artist talk just with a quick land acknowledgement. It is in the spirit of humility that I would like to pay respect to the First Nation people of Turtle Island, with whom we now share stewardship of the land. I would like to honor the ancestors of this land by acknowledging the Treaty 7 territory of the Nyahe Nakota, comprised of the Bearspaw, Chiniki, and Goodstoney First Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation, the Blackfoot Confederacy, which is comprised of the Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai, and the Métis Nation Region 3. So Matthew is exhibiting as our Rise Emerging Artist right now. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, the RISE program supports Alberta-based emerging artists through an exhibition opportunity and a mentorship program. So participating artists build experience in exhibition design, installation, marketing, and business skills, as well as professional practice. This program fosters community awareness of contemporary arts and helps prepare emerging artists for a career in the arts. We'd, of course, like to thank RBC Foundation for supporting this opportunity and this program at artsPlace. So Matthew is a Midwestern-based sculptor working primarily with ceramic. He attained his MFA from the Alberta University of the Arts in 2020 and completed a year-long residency at the Medalta Clay Center in Medicine Hat, and this year was awarded the Winifred Chance Award for Canadian Ceramicists. So we're very honored to have you here with us today, Matthew, and let's dive right on into the Q&A. Why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, thanks, Shannon, so much for having me, and I'll dive right in. And yeah, I'm very grateful to be a part of this exhibition and to have space at the artsPlace. And yeah, I come from Ontario and spent a lot of time up in Thunder Bay and 4 years out here in kind of Alberta area. And yeah, I learned a lot just moving around and going from different community to different community. I come from a big family. I have 3 older brothers, big kind of Irish Catholic farm family. So our gatherings are pretty ruckus, and I guess, yeah, I'm just used to a lot of people, and I'm interested because of that, perhaps, in just the relationships between people and how those people have shaped my life, and maybe I've shaped theirs. And yeah, I think that's a good sum of what I've been up to and who I am for now.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. That's awesome. Could you tell us maybe a little bit about how you make your work and your artistic process and the media and materials that you use?
So I guess I'm in the kind of neat and tidy ceramic box for the most part, but I kind of am a bit sacrilegious in ceramic spaces, because I kind of will integrate kind of metal or wood or plaster into my work, and it's a bit more multimedia sometimes. That said, I've definitely had a strong foot in clay for the past year and a half, just by virtue of having access to such awesome equipment at Medalta. But yeah, a bit about my process. I'm a big fan, I said this recently at another artist talk, but I'm a big fan of kind of coming to the studio in the morning and being kind of confronted with an amorphous blob of clay and just all the potential and becoming and discovery potentially in there. So I try not to plan anything out too thoroughly. I have a lot of really nice kind of reference books, and I'll kind of search for a compelling gesture or an expression, and I'll just kind of begin sculpting heads, and that's kind of been my thing for a few years. And then so that's been exciting. The past few years I've been really interested in just the kind of logistics and what it takes to kind of to exhibit in different places, and a big part of that for me has just been shipping work. And so a big part of my process and practice the past few years has been making my works more modular. So all the pieces behind you there, that's been part of that process of discovery and learning where, yeah, I've been trying to make pieces that kind of slot into each other and are conducive to shipping and exhibiting far wide, but also just ergonomically for myself, just installing and lifting all the pieces. I guess, yeah, in terms of other parts of my practice, yeah, I do, again, sacrilegiously indulge in the metal and the wood, working quite a bit. I've always just really enjoyed working with a variety of materials, and I like to use them to help me, what's the word I'm looking for? To alter, I guess, the language of clay, because clay is it can be very just kind of straight up and down and has all these limitations. But with, for instance, metal armature and wood and things, you can just do more risky things and borrow the languages of those materials to, for instance, achieve like a really ambitious gesture or an idea that maybe you couldn't do in clay. So I guess that's a little bit about my practice and shenanigans.
In the process, yeah, that's great. Thank you. Could you tell us maybe about like what inspires you, or sort of the foundation of inspiration for this exhibition?
Yeah, so I guess We and Me, it's kind of related to a few shows I've had recently with the Alberta Craft Council and I think the Calgary Public Arts folks, but I guess titled Community of the Self, Humbly Heroic, and Piles of Barbarism at the Leighton Arts Centre. And it kind of stems from these ideas I had in, I guess, grad school. It was not necessarily ideas I had, but a kind of coalescence of a bunch of ideas from different thinkers and texts and stuff I was reading. But I really like this idea of the community of the self and the this kind of multiple things that exist in me. And I guess I kind of think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs sometimes, but also just having all these competing motivations inside the self. And then also this idea of you're not just like who you are in this moment. You make your decisions and things based on who you're going to be next week, the year after, 10 years. And all those decisions in this moment you're making on behalf of those future selves of you. So, for instance, I quit smoking a few years ago, and that was a decision I made for future Matt. And my future Matt, who I can kind of channel, is like telling me maybe you should stop doing this kind of thing. Anyway, so and it was also kind of based on there's a Do Ho So piece, I think a Korean American artist in New York. He had a piece called We and Me as well, and again was kind of channeling that public versus private kind of space where all of us kind of work together in this public space, and there's kind of this public trajectory to ideas and movements and things, and how that affects us in the private. But then in our private lives, we can impact this public space, and that kind of swinging pendulum, kind of oscillating between and the tension between those two ideas. And so yeah, that's kind of the gist of the idea behind some of the work and the show.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for going to the title. That's beautifully reflective of the work. Do you have a favorite piece or favorite couple pieces that are in this exhibition?
Yeah, so I guess there's the two pieces there behind you. They're kind of a pair of legs, and then the stacks, and then kind of a whimsical figure kind of draped over. Those ones were really exciting. They kind of came after just the ones on the other side, where I experimented just with the head stacking. So then I kind of integrated those legs kind of in relationship to an earlier body of work. And yeah, these characters just emerged, and they inspired actually all those drawings that I did in the space. And I haven't sunk my teeth into it just yet, but I feel like there's a strong narrative element to the work that I haven't, that I'm excited to discover. And anyway, the thread of that idea is kind of through those characters. And I also just find I really like the presence of a piece and like feeling like I'm with a person, or instead of this person looking at something, I'm like, instead the relationship shifts when you're like with a one-to-one scale, or even like something a bit bigger than you. It feels like you're with something, and I just love the feeling of being with those pieces, and the way they make me feel when I'm standing in front of them. Or images aren't bad either, but yeah, those are definitely one of my two favorites.
Will you tell us how big that one is, the tall one on the pair of figures?
I feel like it's probably 7.5 or 8 feet. I think my head, which is 6 feet, goes up to the top of the middle red head. So probably about 7 feet.
Wow. I was curious about sort of the use of caricature in your work. There's a few drawings in this show that have sort of a caricature feel to them, but it sounds like that's a narrative that's kind of emerging. So will you tell us kind of what you're working on now?
Yeah, for the caricature, I guess I tried to dial into that while I was in school, kind of exploring satire, and it's kind of like getting into the weeds a little bit, but the kind of this idea of the carnivalesque, which is this medieval tradition of not only those ancient manuscripts, that's kind of where that visual vocabulary comes a little bit from, but there's kind of these old medieval carnivals where they flipped power dynamics. The high culture appropriated the low culture, the low appropriated the high, and there's an interesting, weird political thread there that kind of connects to the way, kind of the history of caricature, I guess, with people like Honoré Daumier, like a French kind of newspaper artist. But anyway, without getting too much into those weeds, what I really like about caricature is there's almost a distillance of the essence of somebody and an expression, and it's also like a really tense space to kind of occupy, especially depending on like political social climates, to caricature someone. It can be a flattering act. It could also be an offensive act. So there's a fun like tension to kind of navigate there thoughtfully, and for some reason they make me smile quite a bit, and then character is also an opportunity to kind of bring humor to the table, bring humor to bear, which has its healing properties. For me, anyway, I find I'm kind of a gallows humor kind of person, but also an invitation to kind of a backdoor even to discussions you might not have otherwise because of humor's kind of and caricature's disarming nature. And then in terms of where I'm going with that, I've been kind of caricaturing monuments for a long time, and because I find that's an interesting, contentious space to kind of evoke with the public these days. But yeah, for now, I'm thinking about bringing my monuments into digital spaces, and so anyway, I've been experimenting with 3D modeling and making caricatures in 3D spaces, and then hopefully in the future even animating them. And that's an exciting kind of direction I'm hoping to take to work, but maybe I'm perhaps a bit too ambitious at the moment.
It's good to dream.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you doing now? Where are you working?
So I have the privilege of being at the clay studio of Missoula. It's a lovely town, Missoula that is, in Montana, central western Montana. And yeah, it's a phenomenal studio space. I'll be here for about a year or 2 years likely, and yeah, I'm working on some large scale figures, kind of where I left off. Um, the big thing right now I'm really interested in is this interesting sculpture at the Vatican called, it's like the river personification of like the river god of the Nile, and it's like a large reclined kind of public statuary piece, but then there's all these like little figurines kind of engaging with it. Like there's like a dozen or two just climbing all over. So kind of that's kind of where I'm hoping to take the work into kind of like these fun narrative spaces where it's like a person with all these little figures crawling around, not too dissimilar from the pieces behind you there, but just a bit more complexity to the interactions between the little guys and the big guy. And but yeah, that's what I'll be up to while I'm here. And yeah, I'm loving Montana. It's a really vibrant clay community and very warm people here that have really made me feel at home really quickly. So
That's great. We wish you best of luck with the completion of the residency. Maybe just in closing, if you could tell us why the Rise Emerging Artist program is important to you and your artist development, and what we could do as an arts community center to further support emerging artists.
Awesome. Well, the Rise program to me, it means a lot just to, I think, to acknowledge that kind of tough spot for artists in that emerging space, and to create space for those people to survive and thrive during those kind of turbulent emerging years. So just the opportunity to have a professional exhibit and a solo show kind of space is a really big monumental point for emerging artists, and just having those experiences and all the logistics surrounding that, just like shipping and delivering works and artist statements and everything. It's just it's a really important stepping stone, and then the funding and things really helps as well, just to execute those things. And yeah, I think it's a great kind of first step, not for me and for other artists, into those professional practices and space. And then what was the latter half of the question? Sorry.
What do you think that we can do to support emerging artists?
Well, I feel like I'm going to be a little, what's the word, cringy and do the patting on the back kind of thing. But I think you folks are kind of already doing it, like just creating well-funded professional practices and with a carved out space for emerging artists is amazing. And then I noticed you folks have that group show coming up, which is awesome, for kind of regional artists. One thing I would be excited about would be like just because it's not, I feel like I'm a stone throw away, but it's, I guess, technically international, but like more like a bigger swath of Canada, or even like including America and Mexico in like a group show, and like maybe like an annual big group show. That would be really awesome. I'd love to ship some work for that and the opportunity to be considered for something like that. But other than that, you guys are really awesome, and I really am again grateful and honored for the opportunity to be with you.
Great, thank you. Thanks for that feedback. That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for speaking all about your practice and your work. It's been really neat hearing some of the behind the scenes for this exhibition and how it came together and how you work and what you're up to. For those of you who don't know, We and Me is going to be exhibiting in the Hub Gallery until November 2nd, 2022. And we'll be hosting the 3D virtual tour on the artsPlace website until the end of May in 2023. So if you can't catch it in person, you can watch it online until next spring. Thanks again, Matt, for joining us. Thanks everyone for watching, and take care. We'll see you all soon.
Bye. Thanks, Shannon.